time we started speaking about the 13 principles of faith. I'm starting, great, pretty much we said this is the most important thing in Judaism because this is all of the fundamentals. If you don't have this, you pretty much don't have Judaism. You could have something else, but this is not Judaism. Right? We said, why these 13 principles and nothing else? Because they deal with two ideas. Who is God and how do I relate to him? How can I have a religion where I'm having a relationship with God? I don't even know God, right? It's like, saying long live the king to the donkey, but who's the donkey? The donkey is not God, right? But lots of people have the whole thing. They keep all of the rules. They do the whole thing, but they pretty much don't have a relationship with God. And therefore, all of the 13 principles deal with this. They deal with two main ideas. They're also divided into three parts. Who is God? The authenticity of the Torah. And what does this have to do with me? Great. We'll go deeper now into our pages in a little bit, but let's go. They're called the 13 principles of faith. Emunah, 13 ikarim shel emunah. Now, what does it really mean to have faith? A lot of people nowadays, they say, I have emunah. What does emunah actually mean? Most people think emunah means like you go to church and you yell, I believe. No, this is really not what emunah means, right? By the way, I see people all of the time. They say they have emunah in Hashem. Let's say you're in a subway, right? And suddenly there's a guy with a knife. Do you freak out? Maybe pee on your pants and skirts? Do you do that? Yes. Question. If you really believe in God, right? Would you even need to be afraid? Can anything happen to you if there's God? Obviously not. So what do we actually mean when we say the word emunah? What does it mean to have the 13 principles of faith, right? What is actually emunah in the Torah? And why do we call it the 13 principles of faith and not the 13 principles of knowledge? What is stronger, knowledge or faith? Really? Okay, so we're going to discuss this. Now, I'm going to give you a few opinions different from like rabbis. This is going to be like a little bit of a discussion between me and myself. You could join if you want. And then I'm going to like put it all together and you're going to understand what is the definition of emunah. So what is preferable, knowledge or emunah? Great. There is a famous Rebbe called the Kuzari. You ever heard of the Kuzari? He's famous. He says, you have to know what to answer to a heretic, sorry, I learned this with Eli in my dictionary, but for a normal tzaddik, it is enough to have emunah, right? Not that I want to give some compliments to Sephardi people, but if you ever met any Sephardi people, we're strong, we're traditional. Why are we traditional? Because we have basic emunah. You go to a Sephardi person, they have no idea about anything, but they go with a skirt to a kotel. This is the way it works. And they all go to Selichot because you have to ask forgiveness for God for all of the sins you don't know you did. Okay, but this is the way it works. So he said, you should know how to answer to a heretic, right? I told you last time, what does it mean to know how to answer to a heretic? The one in yourself. You're going to have lots of questions, right? But really, for a normal person, it is enough to have emunah. The same thing is said by the Baal HaTanya. The Baal HaTanya is the first Rebbe of Lubavitch. Not the one that maybe died, didn't die. No, there's another one. The first Rebbe of Lubavitch, he said like this, right? Faith is above knowledge. He said, why? Because someone that is naive will believe everything people tell them. Like really, knowledge is very good. But how do you know everything? How do you know that what you know is what you need to know or that you know what is true, right? But really, believe it's above faith. How do you know? Because you see tons of people that sacrifice their lives for their beliefs. Have you ever seen this? Okay, this is very normal, aka Arabs, right? Do I know what they know, right? We know that all of the time of the church, 800 years, right? People didn't know anything. There was 90% of illiteracy. And people are devoted and they give up all of their lives and they do everything. At the same time, he also says, someone that's naive will believe in everything, will like understand everything. If you know what you know, but I know what I know better than what you know, and I'm very good at arguing, I could say whatever I want and you'll believe it. In the words of Hitler, right? If you say a lie long enough, people will start believing in it. By the way, the definition of what he said was, it was a lie. But everyone got it as knowledge, right? So the Baal HaTanya says, no, it is more important to have faith than knowledge because someone that's naive will believe in everything. Also, the Rambam says, and then the Rambam contradicts himself, but it's okay. I'm going on one side of the discussion, then we're going to go to the other one. The Rambam says, it is forbidden to think freely on your thoughts and ask free questions. It is forbidden. It says, why? Because your intellect is going to cheat on you. Your intellect is not going to take you anywhere. I'm sure like at some point you guys heard this. Why does the Torah start with the letter Bet from Bereshit? Because it's like a wall. You shouldn't ask anything that came before. But now, what do you mean? Jewish people are the people of the question, the people of the book. So I'm going to tell you something very heavy, but I'm going to explain, so do not worry. There is a famous quote from our sages. This is written in the Gemara, right? I usually say it later, but I'm going to say it now. So what do we say? The Rambam says, it is forbidden to think freely in your thoughts. So he said, how could this be? We're supposed to ask questions, right? So what does the Gemara says? Listen to this. It says like this. Whoever asks what was there before, right? If you ask questions on what was there before the creation or what is all of these things, listen to this. It is better that he wouldn't have come to the world. This is what the Torah says. I'm going to explain, right? Whoever asks what was there before, it is better that he shouldn't have come to the world. And you're like, really? Okay, go, that's start. So I'll just take my candy, go to my corner, and don't ask any questions. No, but the Gemara explained this. What does this mean? Imagine you have a 5-year-old, and he's putting a chair on top of another chair, on top of another chair, and you go and you tell him, what are you doing? So he says, I'm going to build a tower so big, I'm going to get up to heaven. Are you going to let him build it? No. If he keeps on building it, what are you going to do? You're going to punish him, yes or no? Yes, I mean, you're going to put him aside. Why are you going to do this? Because first of all, can he build this tower? No. Second of all, what could happen while he tries? He could fall and break his head. You understand? Says the Torah, it is not that we don't like questions. We love questions. But if you think freely, meaning you're just trying to get anywhere and get any answers, this is not going to happen. On the middle of your way, not only will you never get there, but the probability is that you'll fall and you'll break your head. You understand? And therefore, it is better to have emunah than to have knowledge. Because if you think freely, you might fall and break your head. Now, there was a person in the Torah called Acher. He's called Acher, which means the other one, right? Because Acher was a person that had a lot of emunah. He was very righteous. But then what happened to him? He had one question that wasn't answered. And because of this, he became Acher, the other one. You know, the ring. You ever saw that scary movie? No, don't look at it. Very scary. Okay, but what is the point, right? You know, he became Acher. Why? Because for him, everything in the Torah needs to have explanations. And we'll talk about this, by the way. One thing he didn't get straight, he just went off. You know, and therefore it is good to ask questions. But if you're going to ask too many, then this is not going to work out because it's going to go freely and you're going to fall. Okay? From the other side. Now, this is the other side of the discussion. There is a rabbi called Rabbeinu Bechai, and he says like this. In what way do we say that Jewish people are big and wise? If we would just believe whatever we believe, because that's what you believe, you're the same as everyone else. Isn't this how everyone lives their lives? Yes or no? Yes. What do you do? Oh, I believe in this. Why? Because I do. Because this is what they taught me. But we say no. What is written in the Torah? The Torah, it is written, right, and you actually have it here. This is your quote number 6, but I'm going to get to it later. In the side of Emunah versus knowledge, right? It says, every day you say Aleinu Leshabeach. This is the end prayer of any tefillah you ever say. This is Aleinu Leshabeach. You also have this in like the long prayer of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You know, when you're standing for 2 hours, and then you say Aleinu, and you are like, yay, I'm done. No, you're not. There's 40 more pages. It's a very special moment. Okay, so then, right, it says like this, quote, this is written in the book of Devarim, chapter 4, pasuk 39. What does it say? Veyadata hayom, or in Ashkenazi, Veyadasa hayom. I don't know Ashkenazi. Veyadata hayom, ve'ashivota levavecha, ki Hashem hu Elokim hashamayim v'al haaretz. Veyadata hayom, translate, and you shall know today, ve'ashivota levavecha, and you should return it to your heart. What should you know today? That there's one God. What comes first, knowledge or belief? What comes first? Veyadata hayom, you shall know, and then you should inscribe it in your heart. By the way, if you ever paid attention, right, and we're going to go into it, it seems to be that the only way you have emunah is if you know first. Because it doesn't say, and you should inscribe it in your heart. No. And you shall know today, and then you could inscribe it in your heart. That means that if you don't know, according to his pasuk, you cannot have emunah. You understand? Devarim, you have it in your page. Chapter 4, pasuk 39. That means that only if you know, you could put it in your heart. You could have emunah. That's why he uses the word v'hashivota. You should return it to your heart. Meaning, if you know it here, then you could like take the clothing on your suitcase and put it here. But if you don't know it here, there's no clothing in your suitcase to put in your heart. You understand? This is why, now the Rambam says, this is what the Rambam says. Every day you say in the Shema like this. ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך. Where is this from? The Shema. Oh, I already said this. And you shall love God with all of your heart and with all of your soul. Right? Whoever came to Mechina, we ask an obvious question. How can the Torah obligate you to love God? Yes? So pretty much we're going to go into this later. The Torah is not obligating you to love God, but rather it's obligating you to do things that will bring you to love God. You know, we know that love could be developed. You could love many people. And therefore, there are things, you're obligated to do things that will bring you to love God. You understand? This is your obligation. Says the Rambam, how do you get to love God? And he answers, quote, love is directly proportional to knowledge. You cannot love unless you know. You understand? And therefore, Emunah is never going to bring you to love God. You need to know God in order to love God. Because by definition, how can I have a relationship with someone if I don't even first acknowledge their existence? Second of all, if the whole point of a relationship is giving, how can I give to someone if I don't know what I need to give? Right? It doesn't really make sense. And therefore, the Rambam says, love is directly proportional to knowledge, right? And you also have a mitzvah of fearing God. Can you fear someone if you don't know them? No. You ever seen little kids? They're never afraid of dogs. And then if you see a dog, you want to die. You know why kids are not afraid of dogs? Because no one told them they're scary. And then you think they're scary, so you're afraid. You know, but no one else is afraid because you cannot love or fear if you do not know. And by the way, you have a mitzvah in the Torah of loving and fearing God. How am I going to love and fear God? Only if I know God, right? This is why. Next commentary. There's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu. He's a famous prophet. It says, from what can a man take glory? You take pride on everything that you do. Can you take pride on everything that you do? No. Listen to what he says. The only thing a person could take pride on is on the fact that he chose to get to know God. What does that mean, right? Pay attention to this because this is really deep. You ever heard that pasuk that says, Hakol mi shamayim chutz meirat shamayim? Hakol mi shamayim chutz meiras shamayim. Does this sound more familiar? It's like when people ask me, what are you going to teach? So I say, tzeniut. What? Tzeniut. What? Tzeniut. What? Tzenius. Oh, that's a word? Yes, it's pronounced tzeniut. Okay. Right, but what is the point? What do you say? Stephanie's hurt. Stephanie, it's okay. I'm joking. Right? I just wanted to make you famous. You understand? So you're in this video, everyone will know your name. Okay? So how does it go? It goes like this. Listen to his quote. Hakol mishamayim, everything is from heaven, except for fear of heaven. What does that mean? Everything in your life comes from God. What, you're going to take glory on the fact that you're smart? God gave you that. You're going to take glory on the fact that you're pretty? God gave you that. God gave you everything. You know what's the only thing God didn't give you? Fear of God. You know what fear of God is? The choice of using whatever I've been given in my life in order to serve God. That's fear of God. That's the only thing you could pat yourself in the back. Because whatever you have in life, that doesn't really come from you, right? That comes from God. But what can I glorify? What can I take pride on? The fact that I chose it in order to serve God. But now question again. Can I choose to use what God gave me in order to serve Him if I don't know what is the purpose of what God gave me? Of course not. And therefore, right, again, we see that you need to know. So how do we understand this? And by the way, the Rambam himself, right, contradicts himself. Because what did the Rambam say before? You cannot think freely on your thoughts, right? You have to have emunah. But you know, there's a famous book called Moreh Nebuchim from the Rambam. This is called in English, The Guide of the Perplexed. If you have confusion in life, you should read this, and then you'll get more confused. So it's really good. Okay? So there is this book called The Guide of the Perplexed. Says the Rambam, it is not enough to believe, because how much people believe or know what they know and hold on to it without really knowing that it is true. How much people? Everyone, right? I always say, no, because you believe in something, it means something it is true. And therefore, says the Rambam, if you really want to do the right thing, you need to know. Because if not, you're just going to hold on with all of your strength to that which you believe, and that's going to make you fall. You understand? So from one side, what do people say? You need emunah. Right? If you ever think about this, right? We've seen hundreds and millions of simple Jews that sacrifice their life for their Judaism. Have you ever heard about this? Lots of people. Were they all, like big Talmidei Chachamim? No, most of them did not know one word of Torah. How were they able to give their life? Because they had emunah. Apparently, it looks like emunah is something very great. Again, in a certain sense, Sephardi people are much more attached to a Torah because they have emunah. They are very strong in their traditional, that's it, but they're very strong, right? But from the other side, right, you could also see this. You have in the other side knowledge. If you don't know, you cannot have a relationship with God. You know what happened to lots of Sephardi people when they came to communities that were mostly Ashkenazi? They stopped being firm because everyone else were very strict and very firm about what they believed, what they knew, and Sephardi people were naive. So what do we say? You could tell the naive anything, right? So what do we need? Do we need knowledge? Do we need emunah? How does it work? Great. Let's start from zero. Okay, it's not really from zero, but whatever. Look at your source number 5. This is a song from Shalsheles Jr. Benjamin, you close your ears. It goes like this. Reshis chochma iras Hashem. You don't know this song? Because you don't listen to Jewish music? Because you're only in Gesher? By the time you get to Afikim. Okay. But it goes like this. Do you like this song, Noah? It's very cute. Reshis chochma iras Hashem. Sechel tov lekol seichem. They're all Ashkenazi. You know the most famous singer called Shuaki? He's Syrian, but he pretends to be Ashkenazi in order to have public. Really, Shuaki? I want to see what you eat at home. Gefilte fish? I'm sure he eats some lahmacun, but to that public, once you taste Sephardi food, you'll never go back to Ashkenazi. I'm just saying, whatever. Did I ever tell you my husband was allergic to fish when we got married? And as a Sephardi woman, what are you going to cook? That takes away half of the proteins. What am I going to make? So then, I'm a strict wife. So I said, you're going to have to eat fish. He said, but I'm allergic. We'll see about that. I'm going to give you fish. If you survive, I know you're not allergic. If you die, then we'll never try it again. So I make Moroccan fish, forced him to eat it. I'm not your typical wife. He survived. Amazing. He's apparently not allergic to fish. Now he eats fish every week. You know what he asks me all the time? When are you making gefilte fish? I said, look, gefilte fish was the one that made you an allergy. You could have died with the gefilte fish. It was Moroccan fish that saved you. Why would you ever want to eat gefilte fish again? No gefilte fish in my house. It's a gefilte fish free zone. Okay? It's enough that my last name is Kirszenbaum, and that's too much. Okay. Couldn't I have a normal Ashkenazi last name? No, Kirszenbaum. You know how famous that is? You understand that? Painful experience. Okay, but what is the point? It says like this. Reshit chokhmah irat Hashem. Listen to this. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. That's a deep quote. Again, this is in Tehillim, chapter 111. The beginning of wisdom is fear of God. Meaning, knowledge is always good. But why do you want to know? Do you want to know in order to fear? Do you want to know in order to apply? Or do you want to know for the sake of knowing? You understand? Knowledge is a very important thing when it comes first accompanied by the fear of God. What do I mean by that, right? Your intellect is the greatest tool you've been given in your life. The greatest tool you've been given in your life. There are so many ideas that you cannot prove, that you cannot understand, that you cannot whatever, but the greatest tool you've been given in order to get to know God, to get to fear God, is your intellect, right? We know that science cannot prove God, but you could do it through your brain. But the question is, what's preceding your thought? Have you ever met some Israeli people? You start arguing with them. The wall is blue. What do they say? No, the wall is green. But the wall is blue. You know what it's teaching you? You could have something right in front of your eyes that it's 100% true, but when you don't want to believe in it, you don't want to believe in it. You understand? And therefore, even though your intellect is the greatest tool you could ever have in your life, your intellect sometimes serves other things in you. Really, your head is the highest because you should serve your head. And your intellect should be objective. And you shouldn't be blind by everything else. But sometimes your intellect serves your emotion. When you don't want to believe, you make your intellect be a hypocrite and do whatever it wants, even though when you know it is not true. You know, there was a famous story. One time there was a guy that went to a Hafetz Chaim. He used to be religious and he stopped being religious. It's a deep story. So he went to a Hafetz Chaim after like 10 years of not keeping Shabbat. So he said, Rabbi, I have tons of questions in Judaism. So he said, can you answer them? He said, pleasure, I'll answer them. I'll just have one question for you first. So he said, did all of these questions of Judaism happen when you stopped keeping Shabbat or before you stopped keeping Shabbat? So he said, they all started after I stopped keeping Shabbat. So the Hafetz Chaim looked at him and said, then what you have are excuses, not questions. If you know what you know, there's always things that are not going to work in the middle, right? Do you know how to use every single command on your computer? I don't even know anything else about turning it on, right? But if I know it works, then everything else complements it. But you know what we're doing in life, and this is what people do all the time? You make your intellect serve you. That's what you do when you rationalize and when you do all of these things. You don't want to believe in something. You don't want to agree with something. So you look for how your intellect can help you and excuse your behavior and excuse what you do know, right? It serves you. And therefore, from one side, intellect is the greatest tool you have in your life, but only when it's accompanied by fear of God first. Meaning, why do you want to know? Do you want to know in order to do? Or do you want to know because you want to know? If you only want to know because you think of knowledge as being like whatever, and I'm going to prove this to you, right? Then you could know everything and it never affected your life. You know, there was once a famous guy called Aristoteles, right? So Aristoteles used to teach ethics, morale, godliness, whatever you want. And the Greeks were known for being very immoral. You know, so one time someone asked Aristoteles, don't you teach about God's existence? How could you be that you're so immoral? You know what Aristoteles answered? It sounds funny, but it's so deep. He said, what, if I teach math, then I should behave like a triangle? You understand what he said? What I teach has nothing to do with what I am. So what are you? You understand? There's like this division within yourself, and you wonder why so much people go to therapy. Everyone suffers from bipolar. You understand? Different, division of personalities. But this is the way that the world sees it. You could know everything and don't act according to what you know, and that doesn't take away from your knowledge. You're still respected. You're still very big. The Torah says no. Because what is a tzaddik? Toho kevaro. The inside has to reflect the outside. The outside has to reflect the inside. Obviously, sometimes there's going to be a little discrepancy, whatever you call it. But generally speaking, they have to go hand by hand. Because what is knowledge for if I don't really use it? There's really no purpose for it, right? And therefore, what does the Torah says? A tzaddik lives by his emunah. The most important thing you have is really your emunah. But again, I haven't described what that word emunah is. But emunah is the motor that keeps you going. You know why? Because even though my brain is the greatest tool I have, can I know everything? Can I understand everything? Can I, right? Yes or no? Never. And therefore, what's going to happen if I only trust my brain? If I only trust my intellect, what's going to happen when I have an obstacle in my life? Then I'm going to push the brake button and I'm going to say this doesn't work. Exactly like a herdi. You understand? And therefore, this has to go hand by hand. You have to know. But you have to know in your knowledge that you cannot know everything. And it is okay. You know, whoever came to Mechina, and again, I'm dealing with all of this. I haven't finished. This is going to take a long time. But whoever came to Mechina, I said that when God offered the Torah, he offered the Torah to each nation according to their weakness. Because the Torah is in order for you to work on your weakness. And when he offered the Torah to a Jewish people, he said like this, quote, do you want the Torah in which is written, I am the Lord your God? And you're like, really, God? No, I'm for God. We know you're God. Why do you have to say this? And you know what's the answer? Because you know what's the weakness of Jewish people? There's God. Your weakness, our weakness, is lowering your head and understanding you don't understand everything. This is our weakness. We're the most stubborn people in the world, by far. If you have Israeli parents, you know this. Okay? Stubborn. Now, stubborn is good. We wouldn't move forward if we wouldn't be that stubborn, for sure. But there's a weakness to it. We could be looking at a emet in our face and we won't do it. Because I don't want to do it. I don't agree with this. So you know what Jewish people said? Beautiful. Naaseh v'nishma. My doing is not going to depend on my understanding. Because even though I do want to understand, I understand in my understanding that I cannot understand everything. And it's okay. Because I am not God. You're God. You hear this? This is huge. I want to do, and I'm committing to do, even if I don't understand. Not because I don't want to understand, But in my understanding, there's understanding that I cannot understand everything. That's Emunah. And I'm going to prove this to you from the Torah. You know that thing, for everything else, there's MasterCard? You know what I'm talking about? Emunah is MasterCard. What is knowledge? Everything you could know, you know? Right? For everything else, there's MasterCard. You understand? For everything else, there's Emunah. But Emunah is dependent on the knowledge. You understand? This is how it works. I'm going to prove this to you again from the Torah. But this is pretty much what we're saying. Reshit Chokhmah, the beginning of wisdom, is fear of God. Do you know there's a God? You know, every Shabbat, when you finish praying, there is this thing you say at the end of the Musaf. It's also a song if you're Sephardi, if you're Ashkenazi. I don't know what you people sing. I know you sing, oh, yo, 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 yo. One time I went to Ashkenazi shul and I left. They were saying, oh, yo, yo, in the middle of Kaddish. I don't know. Did someone die there? I don't know what happened. Don't even ask my husband. When I went to Simchat Torah, the happiest day. Now I appreciate it more. You know what Ashkenazi people do in Simchat Torah? They sing the same song for 40 minutes. Mo, na, 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 Moshe, Emet. And then they throw their kids into the air. And it's like a crazy thing. But I didn't have a kid. So we spoke about this. I was going to get a teddy bear to participate in the fun. Now we could throw Chevy. I mean, last year, Yeshaya went. Chevy was 3 weeks old. He's like, can I have her? No. So then you see all of the men throwing their children. Yeshaya's like walking with a newborn baby. And Yeshaya's clumsy. I was afraid he was going to throw her into the floor. But Baruch Hashem, we survived. Okay, this year we're throwing Chevy. But what is the point? This is the point. You sing this song. You go like this. En que lo que no, en cada neino, en que moshieno, mi que lo que no, mi. You know this? You sing this? Beautiful. Who loves life? This is one of my favorite songs. Now listen to the quoting. You never thought about this, but you go like this. There's no one like God. There's no one like our master. There's no one like our redemptor. Right? And then you say, who is like God? Who's like our master? Who's like our redemptor? Question, is the order good? Shouldn't you say first, who is like God? And then when you know God, then you say, there's no one like God? Does that make sense to everyone? Of course. How could you say, there's no one like God, before you know who's God? Says the Torah, because that's really the order in Judaism. After you know there's God, and there's no one like him, ask any question you want. But if your belief is going to depend on your knowledge, you're already failing from the start. You understand? First know there's no one like God. First know there's no, and then you could ask, who's God? Because then your knowledge is to get a closer relationship and a closer respect and a closer understanding on God. It's not dependent. You understand? The moment it becomes dependent, this doesn't work. Let me show you this. Everyone look at source number 3. Whatever. Really, there's an order, but I do whatever I want, so this is good. Source number 3. I would put you to read, but maybe you don't want to read in like live television. Do you want to read, Rebecca? Fine. Raquel is going to read. Everyone has source number 3. Goes like this. Torah bagoim al ta'amin, chokhmah bagoim ta'amin. This is written in Midrash Eich HaRabah, chapter 2, 9. I mean, I've never read this stuff, so I don't know. But great, it goes like this. Quote, Torah bagoim al ta'amin. Listen, that the goim have Torah, do not believe. Chokhmah bagoim ta'amin, but that they have intellect or wisdom, believe. Right, let's do this again. Don't believe that the goyim, they have understanding. They know a lot. But Torah, they don't have. What is the difference between Torah and understanding? Torah and wisdom, right? So now, I will not say your names out loud, but be honest. What do you remember from all of school? Of everything you've learned every year? Let's be honest, you remember 4 things, and your kids will not even remember these 4 things, which is pretty dramatic. You know how to add, subtract, read, and write. Does anyone remember anything else from school? If I tell you the cycle of Krebs, you know what I'm talking about? The Pythagoras, the theory of Pythagoras. You know that? You guys know more than half of the world. That's amazing. The other day I gave someone a class, and it was 80 shekel per class. So it was 4 classes. So she tells me, don't worry, I'm sending you 280 shekels. So I'm like, did we not agree on 80 shekel a class? She's like, yeah. 80 times 4 is 280. I'm like, you're sure about that? She's like, yeah. I'm like, please don't help your children with their math homework. Like, please. Like, pathetic. You know, but like, really? You know how in Facebook you always have like how to learn the table of 9, and they go like 9, 8, 7, 6, 8, and then up, and everyone's like, wow, I wish I knew this. Really? You should know the table of 9 by heart. So easy. And then people get so excited. Like, really? I'm just saying. Let's not even get me started on math because embarrassing. But the point is, what do you remember from school? Pretty much reading, writing, adding and subtracting. I wouldn't even say multiplying. Like, nothing. Your iPhone does that, right? What's 12 times 12? That one is an easy one. You better remember that. Okay, great. I'll teach you a way of multiplying big numbers, but not now. This is not for TV, but I'll teach you a way of multiplying big numbers in a second. You give me any big number that's not super big, but there's a way. I'm not going to do this for you now. But like easy, 12 times 12, how do you know? 10 times 12 plus 2 times 12. Am I right? Okay, whatever. You have no idea what I just said. But what is the point, right? Why do you guys only remember this? Give me one answer. Why do people only remember this? Is the only thing you use. You hear this? That means that knowledge that is not used is not existent. You know what the Torah says? Huge. That the Goyim have knowledge? Believe. They know a lot, but they don't have Torah. You know what Torah is? Torah comes from the word instruction. Instructions are meant to be lived. Torah is not like the cycle of crepes. It's not something I know. Torah is something I live. It has to be on the air you breathe. It has to be on everything you do. When you only know Torah, you don't have Torah. You understand this? This is very deep. When you only know Torah, you don't have Torah. That's the way the world sees wisdom, and we see wisdom. Wisdom is something that I live. This is why, by the way, you could have Madonna that has been studying Kabbalah for the last 5 years. She's still naked on all of her videos. How could you study Kabbalah and still be naked? Because I only studied it for the sake of knowledge. This is why, right, I don't have this here, but there's a famous saying from our sages that say like this, quote, Mi she'omer she'en lo ela Torah, afilu Torah en lo. Quote, whoever says that they have nothing except for Torah, even Torah they don't have. I'll say this again. Whoever says they have nothing except for Torah, even Torah they don't have. What do you mean? The only thing I know is Torah. Oh. But if you know Torah like you know math, you don't have Torah. Torah is not something you know, it's something you live. If it's not engraved in you, and again, how do you know when you know something? You have to be able to express it. If you would really know Torah, you would be in that subway when a guy enters with a knife, and you would not be afraid. Because really, no one could do anything. And if you would really know Torah, and then I'm going to get into it next class, you would open your fridge when your fridge is empty, and you wouldn't worry. Because really, God could make food appear at any moment. Really, that is knowledge. I live it. And therefore, apparently, we don't really have Emunah. This is why, right, just one more thing, and then we'll continue on Sunday. This is why there is a famous saying from our sages. This is source number 4. It says like this. Rabbi Hanania ben Dosa omer, כל שיראת חטאו קודמת לחכמתו, חכמתו מתקיימת. שחוכמתו קודמת ליראת חטאו, אין חוכמתו מתקיימת. This is in Pirkei Avot, chapter 3, 11, Mishnah 11. In some Pirkei Avot, it is 9. So in case you're listening to me, don't tell me I made a mistake. Some Pirkei Avot are made. Right? One time I had a girl, she's like, you didn't know the stories. We go search for it. What's there? She's like yelling at me in the middle of class, embarrassing me publicly. What do you think? I don't look into my sources? I look into my sources. Okay, listen to what it says. Deep. Okay, listen to the depth of this. Whoever their knowledge, their wisdom is preceded by their fear of God, their wisdom will remain. But if your wisdom is not preceded by fear of God, your wisdom will not remain. You hear that? I'll say it again. Whoever wisdom is preceded by fear of God, their wisdom will remain. If your wisdom is not preceded by fear of God, your wisdom will not remain. Again, the question is, are you learning in order to, or are you learning in order to learn? If you're only learning in order to learn, you'll never know anything. If you're learning in order to, then you know what changes? Everything that you're learning is, how can I apply it? How can I live it? And therefore, it becomes part of you. The Torah says that no one knows halakha until they make a mistake in that mitzvah, right? Because why? If one time I made a mistake and I light Shabbat, the light on Shabbat, am I going to be that much more careful next Shabbat? Now I know halakha. But until I made a mistake, I had no idea if I could do it or not. I had no idea what that was. And therefore, it was something that was outside of me. This is why the same Pirkei Avot then says, whoever's good action precedes their knowledge will remain. But if your knowledge precedes your good actions, your knowledge will not remain. You understand? Are you learning in order to? If you have more good actions, it's like, the branches, right? If you have good actions and you want to learn in order to, everything will remain. Imagine I go to a store and I know and I see a dress. And I love the dress. I know everything about the dress. I know the size. I know the material. I know the price. I know the everything. I don't know what else you need to know about a dress. But I do not buy the dress. Does the dress belong to me? You could know everything and not know anything. Because if you didn't make it yours, it doesn't really belong to you. And as you're going to see, because I'm going to do it on Sunday, because I have to finish now, Emunah is making knowledge yours. But there's only so much I can know. For everything else, there's MasterCard. You understand? But Emunah is applicable knowledge that goes beyond what I know. That's Emunah. You're going to see next time. Right? And this is why it's saying like that. And again, Rashid Chokhmah Yirat Hashem. If you only know Torah like you know everything else, even Torah you don't know. Torah is not a knowledge. Torah is life. If you have a person that knows a lot of Torah and they don't apply it, and by the way, we see it in the Torah all the time. There was a famous guy called Doeg. He was called Doeg Hadumi. He's in the book of Shmuel. Doeg, the red one. The Torah says, you know why he was called Doeg, the red one? Because he knew so much Torah that every time someone would ask a question, he would know the answer, people would be embarrassed. And therefore, he was the one that caused everyone to be red. To make the story short, he made Shaul HaMelech sin, he made everyone sin. You know how he died? He died without knowing one word. Because really, his knowledge was never inside of him. Like the brother of Abraham. You remember this story? Nimrod threw Abraham into a fire, and his brother said, if Abraham survives, then I believe in God. If Abraham doesn't survive, then I don't believe in God. So he was thrown into a fire. He died. That's not the crazy thing. You know how he died? His body was intact, but his inner organs were all burnt. Because he knew everything, but he didn't keep anything. It was all external. And therefore, he wasn't able to protect it. You understand? This is the way it works. It has to be everything together. Okay, we'll continue with this next time. Great.